before anything else, I'd like to know if there's anybody that is either selling NFTs or thinking to sell NFTs at all. Okay, we've got 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 4, 5. Okay, and then in terms of buying NFTs, do you guys invest? Cool. Just 1, 2. You've got a couple, as in 2.
As in 2, yeah.
Brilliant.
It's a start.
It's a good start. Cool, brilliant. Okay, so I guess that Roman, from your perspective, what is I guess the check boxes that a NFT creator needs to tick to have a good foundation, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if you're thinking about releasing an NFT, you've probably got a really great idea. Everyone's got a really great idea. The problem I see most frequently is people take that idea and they run with it and they release their project straight away. They think the value of the idea is so great that everyone's going to buy the project. They don't need to do anything else. And yeah, that just doesn't work. What you've got to do is, the ideal position you want to be in is having a project that people want to buy so much that they will break down your door. They will do anything to get that NFT. If you're in that position, that's when you need to release. If you're not in that position, you need to wait until you're in that position. And that means building community. That means getting probably a Discord server or something else to get people in the door, tell them about your art, make them excited. And then when they're at that peak excitement, that's when you drop the NFT. And that's when everybody is crazy and you have this exciting drop space and you sell out in 2 minutes. I've seen it done many ways, and that is the best way of doing it. People, I think, get carried away with what happens after the drop, or building the metaverse, or all this stuff that people talk about when they talk about NFTs. And actually, the real thing that you want to build is a community of people that want to buy your NFT. And that's easier said than done. It's a long road, but once you've got to that point where there is so much friction, people can't wait to buy it, that's when you'll be able to sell out, not before that.
Brilliant. I guess a point to add, I've seen this not done actually, in the NFT space. So everybody spends a lot of time on crypto Twitter. Have you guys been on Twitter at all? Yeah. It's a very dark hole that you'll spend your entire life there just trying to understand what's happening. And something that a lot of NFT projects, whether you're a solo creator, you're a collective of people just crowdfunding money for your project, they ignore the fact that you can actually make use of PR. Because crypto outlets, crypto magazines and blogs, etc., they need a lot of content. And believe it or not, that gives a lot of credibility as well. Because, more often than not, I actually started in, what did I say this to? Okay, sorry, remind me your name? Toby. I started in 2019 in the crypto space with NFTs, just losing money. It was never ending process of just buying an NFT, hoping that it's going to do well. And then someone pulls a rug and then disappears with your money. So, just making use of that, especially the guys that, you're looking to sell your NFTs, just making use of press. Surprisingly, that will give you the support. But yeah, it's from experience. Then, Katie, you were talking about NFT ticketing.
Yes.
So explain, please.
Yes, so I've had a bit of experience with various platforms that offer NFT ticketing. So for example, I'd like to talk about, I don't know if you guys, go to events and things regularly. If you buy a secondhand ticket, what's your main worry? It's getting mugged, isn't it? Or scammed. That's kind of the be all and end all. What can solve this is proving that you can't sell something that you don't have. That is the ultimate thing behind blockchain. That's the whole idea of it. Is you can't sell something you don't have. And it can solve all the massive problem in the events industry.
So how do you see that happening? Because obviously there's really big ticketing companies that are, I'll not say names, but I'm sure that you guys know ticketing companies, very corrupt. I think that we're live streaming it, so, just to be out. But we all know it. So how do you see, is it just purely the fancy word of NFTs that is what's going to change it, or why
No.
is
It's
NFT
ease of
ticketing
access.
important?
It's making it simple and easy to use. So having it as a mobile app, for example, I don't know if I can name names of companies that do it, but it's having a nice user interface. It's having a nice, streamlined process. 2 clicks, done. That's how it's going to be mass adopted by people. That's how it's going to be. People are going to look at it and think it's easier to use than Ticketmaster, for example. Basically.
And so, Robin, in terms of more tips in terms of especially for those that are planning to sell NFTs, you spoke about both before, so essentially grinding and being there, building the community. But once you sell, let's say was it 5 or 6 of you guys that are going to sell NFTs. Once you've been grinding for months and you've spent 25/8 on crypto Twitter, just trying to bring the community, they sell out the collection. So what's after? Because you said that a lot of people just neglect what's after that.
Yeah, it's important to think about that. Like, don't get obsessed with that, because you can ignore the selling out parts. But once you got to the bit where you've sold out your collection, everybody's very excited. Often you find yourself in a position of like, what's next, right? Maybe you've had a roadmap, maybe you've got like a grand plan. But the reality is, you need to have this exciting moment. Like, there's for the NFTs we have a blind mint, which means that when you mint an NFT, you don't know what you've got. It's just a blank image or a placeholder image. And then a week later, it gets revealed, and you find out whether you've got the rarest one or whether you've got the most common one. It's a big event. And that's the point where the artwork is revealed. In some NFT collections, it happens immediately. Sometimes you know what you've got immediately. But in the way we do it, it gets revealed after a week. And that's when you find out how good the art is. And that's when you find out whether your NFT collection is going to be a success long term. Because don't forget, at least with NFTs on Ethereum, you can earn secondary sales royalties. So you can make money from selling your NFT the first time from the primary sale. But in theory, every time you sell or someone trades, you can make up to 10% of that trade, which, if your NFT collection is successful, can be a lot of money. So you want to try and build in tradability, collectability, layers of interests that are going to pay off in the long run, because you could find yourself talking about this NFT collection for years and years and years. And just for your own sanity more than anything, you want to be talking about stuff that's still interesting. If you're still talking about the same thing in year 3, then something's gone wrong. So you want to have the ability to talk about like very minute traits or categories or collections you can collect all of. Like, let's say it's a music NFT and it's an album. Maybe you can collect all 5 songs. That's a thing that collectors can do, and they will trade your NFT to get to that point. And every time they trade, you make 10%. So there's lots of little games that you can build into it, right? Lots of little utilities. People use that word too much, but it's a big thing. It's a long-term thing, and if you build it for the long term, I think it'll pay off further down the road.
Brilliant. So I think that ties quite well. So Katie, I was talking to you earlier. You spoke about, again, bringing it back to ticketing and events and visual, especially in electronic dance shows. The visual element of it is very important. So you was talking about how those visuals can then be auctioned after the event, etc. So I guess a really hopefully it's a good segue from what happens after a mint and towards what utility it has in the real world as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really interesting point. So I think especially with creators and musicians, the main thing that we all struggle with is money and having a stable income, because if you put out a song and it tanks, you don't know where you're going to pay your rent the next month. And it's same with like all people in the arts. So there is this interesting, I think it's like Time Is Now, which is like a collective of these 2 musicians. You might have seen videos of it, but they basically use their stage visuals and then put them out on the Ethereum blockchain to sell after the event. So imagine going to one of these events and you see all these cool visuals and you have a memory tied with that now. And, you know, imagine being able to actually physically own what was on the screen and an experience, for example. That's what it is, an experience. You can physically own an experience and you can have that, and that's yours. That's the main, you know, that's what I see. And then because of that, you have like, you know, the secondary sales, like the artist will sell this and then have money to generate for the next project, because stage visuals are expensive. You know, you can't really use them more than once. You know, it differs. But yeah, with that, you can, you know, get finance for new projects and new things, and, you know, give back to your audience and give them a chance to actually physically own something that was at the event.
Yeah. One of my clients is releasing a new NFT for every stage of the tour they're on. So they're traveling around the US, and there's one for Seattle, one for New York. Every stage they sell a new set of NFTs, and if you can only buy it if you're at that concert or that gig. So it's a way of like proving. It's like getting a T-shirt, right? You go there, you buy the merch, and it's an NFT, and it's on the blockchain, and it's immutable, and it'll be there forever in theory. But yeah, it's a new way of proving that you were there early, hopefully, in the artist's career.
Can also be tied to event tickets. You know, people can be airdropped things from, you know, if they own this, can airdrop, you know, a piece of art to commemorate the experience, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Gives a chance for new revenue.
How do you buy it? So I'm in the audience, I go to this event and there's music, and I walk through the door and I don't know anything about anything. And then someone tells me I can buy an NFT of something. But how does it unfold?
It's an interesting problem, because as soon as usually it's a QR code, right? It's a QR code that somebody holds up and they scan it and it says buy this NFT. But if they then send that to their friend, how do they prove that they were at the gig? So you have to build in like something that proves they're there. It's very difficult to geolocate it. Like my tech brain is like, oh, just like look at the IP address, work out that it's actually there. But that's very difficult. In reality, like one of our artists did this where he airdrops a NFT to everyone at the gig. There was a QR code, and when you went to the mint page, it said, what color trousers am I wearing? And they just had to type in like, I don't know, blue trousers. And if they didn't know that, they wouldn't get the NFT. That's a very crude way of doing it, but you have to have something that proves they were actually there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I guess that, you know, it's a brilliant question as to, you know, I don't know anything, and then they tell me I can buy an NFT. And so we found actually that a lot of people have a huge resistance towards that, regardless of the form of entertainment, whether it's a film, whether it's a music, it's a comedy show, whatever it is, people just have a huge pushback when it comes to offering NFTs anyways. So those of you that are not buying NFTs, are you not buying it because just don't like it? Is it just, you know, think it's all a scam?
Yeah, for me, it's what do I do with it? You know, like I said to you, I've worked in the music biz before, and that's like with an NFT, right, like with my computer, how do I use it afterwards? Artwork, how do I interact with that artwork? At the moment, there's nothing for me that builds on how I use it afterwards, unless it's community-based. Art or something, in the community, or you're in a tokenized brand of an artist or something, that's different. But as a storage thing of like, you bought it and then where do you put it, what do you do with it?
Yeah, I mean, brilliant. So I guess that comes to what Katie was talking about, which is the utility of it. You know, Bored Apes became huge because then you had Jimmy Fallon, or you had Eminem and you know, Snoop Dogg in the community, and so you could have a direct point of communication with people of this level, right? So the utility of it, so the artwork or the song itself probably is meaningless, because the songs are still going to be available. The artwork, you can take a screenshot. Everybody says, oh, I've got a screenshot now. But I guess it's that utility embedded to it. Like, what is the community like? What do I get? Like, do I get extra airdrops? For example, if you've got my NFT or NFT that I'm selling, I know exactly where to send some goodies or digital goodies right to you with no friction, because I know, cool, I've got 10 people that have my NFT, so I'll send them even a free ticket to my show. I'll send them a free game key that they can use to download my game from Steam and just go and play it. So
I'm a newbie with this sort of
Yeah.
NFT stuff, but how does the music work within an NFT? Like, for example, I come from a DJ culture, but way back, and I use vinyl, I use digital tracks, but how does an NFT interact with like that culture?
would you guys want to answer that?
Well, it's an MP3 file, basically.
Within the NFT.
Yeah, the NFT, it contains the reference to the MP3 file. So every time you buy an NFT, you know it's completely unique. Nobody else has that NFT, but it links to an MP3 file that's probably stored either on decentralized storage or on like Web2.
MP3 gigs size.
Yeah, like if you want to download an audio file, you probably will use MP3. So you can, some are WAV, some are FLAC, but MP3 is most common. Yeah, a lot of people care about that stuff and they'll store it in like lossless audio, but most commonly it's MP3 in my experience.
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry,
Yeah, please, yeah.
Enable you to experience NFT music collections. I've seen one like aggregated feed of music that does music NFTs, but at the moment it's very nascent. Right? It's not a lot of that about, but eventually, do you envisage Spotify doing that? Like,
that's what everyone.
NFTs.
That's a lot of people jump to that conclusion. Like we're reinventing the music industry. Let's build the new Spotify.
Yeah.
But actually, why are we building the new Spotify when Spotify distributes music very effectively? If you want to listen to a track, you go to Spotify and it will within seconds you're listening to whatever you want. And it's yes, you have to pay a license, but you can do it solves that problem very effectively. If you're talking about streaming music, the blockchain is not the best platform to do it because it's distributed, transfer speeds are slow, it's expensive to transfer data. There's lots of technical reasons why reinventing Spotify on the blockchain is probably not a good idea right now, maybe in the future, but not right now. The thing we're really disrupting is the business model. The problem with middlemen and the problem with people getting 0.001 cents per stream, that's the thing we can fix with NFTs. The streaming problem is different, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to also jump in on that thing. So yeah, there's some statistics about how many streams it takes for an artist on Spotify, for example, to earn $1.
Oh, believe me, I know.
It's 250. Yeah. So music NFTs are not, in my opinion, are not meant for large artists. They're meant for smaller artists. So you can actually target. So for example, I don't know if anyone here is musical at all, musically inclined, but if you've got a community behind you, a strong community of 100 people that will pay £10 for your songs, that's how you're going to build a community. That's how you're going to establish yourself, and that's how you're going to earn money from your music.
You want a chair? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
When the tokenization of the bigger artists happen in terms of how they use NFTs and interact with a community which they already have established. So I can see that being a really useful way of a community being built or maintained or interacted with from a individual artist who has the profile, major artist.
Like Snoop Dogg, for example. Yeah. I think that was what got a statistic on him from like 2022. I do believe, or 2021, sorry, and he was the highest selling artist, and he raised something, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of money because it got the established community already behind it. Yeah. So yeah, I do.
I think that it's also, with music, it's a bit more complicated because major artists do not own the rights. Yeah, so in intellectual property, sorry, I'm getting very technical. five intellectual property rights, 4 apply to music. Is very rare, almost impossible to find a single artist that has all 4 rights. But I do see, moving away from the music topic. Do you guys play games at all? Any gamers in the room? Yep. So what I find really exciting is on the gaming side, because, I played loads of games. Very embarrassing, live streamed. I've got over 1,000 hours played on Rocket League, for example. Really, really bad. I buy skins for my car and I buy really cool stuff. But what happens if I don't need it anymore? It's very hard then to, number one, sell it. Number two, to move it over to another game. A really cool use case that came up in a conference that I went to was Rockstar is the gaming development studio that created GTA and also Red Dead Redemption. And so, I just finished one of those games. And if I've got a particular gun that's really cool on GTA, that with NFTs, you can essentially just move it over to Red Dead Redemption, for example. And you can, once you stop playing the game, that you can sell your in-game assets to someone that will benefit from them later on as well. So that ecosystem is also really interesting to see how it's developing, because you've got a couple of things. You've got the play to earn. The gaming community is not very excited about it, but there's people in Southeast Asia that are making, I don't know, $1,000 a week. Now in the US, maybe not great, but in Southeast Asia, there's people that are making a really good amount of money just by creating content or even playing the games. So those are really interesting utilities, going back to the whole utility conversation, that is outside of I buy something and then hopefully I'll get into a community or I'll get into, I'll get some freebies. But it's the fact that there's other industries, there's other sectors that can really change and become something, more valuable, not just for the industry itself, but also for the consumers. And a good case is gaming.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the fact that originally NFTs, when they came out, people just bought them because the price was going up. There was crazy speculation. It was just, I buy low, sell high, and you saw that in the graphs. It was spiked and then dropped off a cliff. But now we're in a bear market, and we've been in a bear market for a while, and these things are starting to come out. Like, these utilities are starting to be like, well, what is the value of an NFT now? What do we actually get from this? And that's where we're seeing things like ticketing and things like gaming and things like music are starting to bubble up. We've kind of simmered it down, and we're left with, what is the value of this thing that I've bought? And it's not necessarily, I'm just going to sit on it and hope it's worth $1 million tomorrow.
Yeah, to further that point as well, there's a statistic that's come out recently as well on the development of verified smart contracts. So they are at an all-time high. So although we are in a bear market, people are still building, people are still finding usage, and therefore we are at an all-time high. So that it's there, we're building, it's going basically.
Yeah, go.
That's all great, and yeah, we've said about all the utility that's there, all the different ways that NFTs could be used. It all sounds great. We're all-time high in audited smart contract and all that kind of stuff. So why do we still not have mainstream adoption? What is holding NFTs back? Is it the infrastructure? Is it the ease of use? Or is it that we don't have a killer app yet?
Can you take that?
I want to actually mention, sorry to bring it to music, but one of the key points of friction that I found the past 3 years now is environmental impact. Have you guys heard of this whole story? That, at some point last year, I did a NFT for a really big brand. And I had someone on Reddit saying that I'm making the Russian war worse because of selling this NFT, like literally. And then other people saying that, I'm killing pandas, like really stupid comments, right? But environmental impact is something that's been a major point of conversation in the whole, NFT and crypto space. And about adoption is the fact there's an overwhelming amount of people that do not want to get involved with the NFTs or crypto because of the environmental impact. Now,
associating it with the Bitcoin thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's a number of reports and studies that show that Bitcoin miners, they benefit from using renewable energies because then the cost is lower and then they make, higher profit. But what's really interesting is, particularly in the arts and in music, loads of brands, record labels, publishers, artists, completely against being involved with the crypto industry because of that environmental impact. And so we actually published the data showing that in order to consume as much as Spotify does every year, you will need to create all the NFTs on Ethereum and Solana, which are the two largest blockchains for NFTs, twice. So one of the points of friction when it comes to adoption that I've seen is that conversation about environmental impact without actually exploring the fact that maybe you're in the gym, you're listening to music and you're not realizing that probably you would do better for the environment if you bought 10 NFTs than spending an hour listening to your music. But I'm not sure if you guys have anything else on the adoption apps.
Can I just say, do you really think that the general public understand more than, that amount about what an NFT is? I don't think people are that concerned about the ESG matters, and that's why they're not interested in NFTs. I think 95% of people just aren't interested in NFTs, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That's true.
You are right.
And the problem is the word NFT is a big turn-off.
What is it?
What is an NFT?
Yeah.
What is, it's a weird acronym that nobody knows. Yeah. Like even people that have got over that barrier and they want to buy an NFT, when they come in and the process starts of how do I then buy the NFT, there's a whole shopping list of stuff you've got to understand before you can buy the NFT.
And there's more things coming out every.
It's just the same with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's understanding. And by the way, I believe the figure is from an energy expert that 60% of Bitcoin mining is done using renewables, and it's getting more. And Bitcoin's using more and more stranded energy. Again, the same energy expert said that 30% of energy produced in the world is wasted, so stranded. So, for example, wind that can't be used, or hydro, like in southern China, where the cities have moved or the industry's moved, so it's just dead, it can't be used. So Bitcoin is very much able it's drawn to using that sort of energy, but economically, because it's cheaper, of course.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like the idea that people see the figure that Bitcoin uses this much energy in mining, but actually how much of that is renewable? How much of that would otherwise be wasted? There are lots of questions that should be asked. But to go back to your point about like who cares about NFTs, the reality is most people don't. You're right, but even the people that do have this problem to get this barrier to get across, and like I spend time like educating people about how to buy an NFT. And even for me, it's exhausting. Like you've got to download a MetaMask, you've got to understand like roughly how the blockchain works. You've got to avoid scams. Like everyone is trying to rob you, it seems. And there are all these reasons not to buy an NFT. And there's all these reasons not to care about NFTs. Like that, those are the real problems. But we've learned that the way to get around this problem, like with the internet, is don't talk about the technology. Don't talk about the specifics of how you interact with this protocol. Just talk about the benefits to you. Like why would you want to do this? What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And as soon as you start seeing that value, that's when you get mass adoption. And I think these things are starting to come up, like with ticketing and like with other things. It's like you don't even know you've got an NFT. You've just got a ticket that can't be copied and sold on the black market and stolen from you, or you turn up to the ticket gate and you get refused because it's a forgery. That these are the things that will start to make it mainstream. And then once you've got mainstream adoption, we'll see even more innovation. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I do agree with that. So yeah, I think the best way that I've explained it to people is, hey, what problems do you have? How can we solve those problems? And 9 times out of 10, they can be solved through the use of blockchain tech.
Yeah. Good question.
Cool. And, I guess do we still have some time? Yeah, we do. Excellent. I'd like to maybe transition a bit towards the tokens, just, out of curiosity, if any of you guys are, obviously I know more, you're one of the miners, but if anybody's, buying tokens, especially right now is a meme coin rush. So if anybody's going into the meme coin space, we've got a meme coiner.
The meme coin cards right now is but also like the DeFi world with NFT use with that and adding utility with extra APR for lending and loaning and stuff like this is a new trend I've noticed. But yeah, the meme coin thing right now, I'm kind of curious to sit back and see if it will burn, when it will burn. But that said, there's some that I've known about for a long time and they still are going up. So I don't know how long it will last, but yeah.
Yeah. Question for you, Alex. How do you avoid a scam coin? How do you avoid investing in something that's going to get the rug pulled?
I mean, that's very hard, actually. But I guess just making some research. I mean, a very famous meme coin is Dogecoin, right? Still ongoing. I absolutely. I mean, well, I'm not saying absolutely, but I think there's one of the points, because if you see at the allocations, if you see the tokenomics of Dogecoin, it shouldn't actually work that well, because if you go now and you explore who are the holders of Dogecoin, there's a wallet that has, I think it's 25% of the overall supply, which means that one person, the moment they want, they can completely tank the price of the coin, which obviously we see it on the, volatility. Do you know Dogecoin at all? Do you?
So, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In regards to what you said about the wallets who owns 25%, I saw Coin Bureau made a post about it, and he said that he related that wallet with the SEC.
That was April's Fool.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I thought that was so odd. Okay, now it makes sense. Yeah.
What, the SEC? So
The SEC has 25% of Dogecoin. No. Yeah, I did. Someone sent it to me saying, "Oh, look what happened." No, it was April's Fool. But yeah, so just on the meme coin space, I was in a Twitter space last night. For those that don't use Twitter, it's an audio space like Clubhouse, basically. And there was about 3,000 people listening in to three hosts. Their identities are unknown. You just see a profile picture and a username, and they were promising how great this meme coin is going to be. They are not going to publish the token allocation, no tokenomics. They're not going to be sharing, the allocation of liquidity that's going to go towards actually supporting the token itself. Because the difference, we spoke about this morning, with NFTs is, crowdfunding. You buy an NFT and you can sell it if there's somebody else willing to buy it. With tokens and cryptocurrencies, there's essentially liquidity pools that are essentially where you can go and exchange your tokens for cash. So the moment the liquidity pool goes to $0, then you cannot exchange it. And so, there's no value. So not knowing those things, it's very dangerous. And in the meme coin world, if any of you guys are thinking of jumping in, it's I'm actually scared of going into it, especially having started in NFTs and having lost money, and people saying my money's in FTX now, and it wasn't really true. Seeing those things, I think, is super important. So there's a number of places that I would recommend. There's a website called Messari that has everything from token allocations and tokenomics. It's super technical, but if you're thinking of buying tokens, again, not financial advice, it is a good place where to at least see which coins are legit, and seeing, if a single person has 60% of the coins, and if they do, then it's very dangerous, because the moment you put money into it, then you might lose it. I think that was a very long run just for a very simple question. So,
I think I learned quite a lot.
anyways.
What do you think of a tool like Morales Money, or you've got Token Metrics? They've brought out tools as well that are just simple filters that will help you so-called pick gems. What would you say about those type of tools with regards to meme coins?
Thank you. You're going to do some exercise today, Milo. It's a good question. So again, at the end of the day, tools, there's plenty of tools out there that, you can essentially just find your filters and see how they're doing and stuff. I'm more into a bit more technical, so the on-chain analysis of it and seeing where things are allocated, especially for meme coins. For example, Pepe. Have you guys heard of Pepe at all? It's all over the news. If you follow the crypto news, and there's a lot of crypto bros telling you that it's going to be the next big thing and stuff. But in essence, that token shouldn't have any value, I think. You've got the entire supply of the token is already circulating. Well, there's differences. Some platforms tell you that it is, some of those almost fully vested. But at the end of the day, is the fact that if with meme coins, it's about being quite careful and seeing who's creating it. And yes, sir, go on.
So would you recommend those? Say swerve those. Would you say swerve those type of tools and just stay with like the on-chain stuff, or use those tools? What would you say?
I guess it's a combination.
I'll say it again. Yeah, I guess a combination of both. But of course, I'd say those, like with any investment, really is just following the community, following the users, and following the creators. Because again, I went into NFTs because one of my coworkers said, "Hey, this is great." I went into it, and then a couple of weeks later, the creators disappeared. And then, like a fool, I went back into it again without any research. And again, because I guess I was doing, the get rich quick scheme, right? Of, I'll just go into it, and for sure it's going to be worth $1 million. So I guess a combination of both. And, but of course, understanding that meme coins are meme coins for a reason. I guess that's a very important thing to keep in mind at all times.
And a lot of people will, I'm not an investor and I don't really know how it works. Alex is the expert here, but a lot of people will tell you there's a formula for success. A lot of people will tell you there's a formula for success, and those people are probably wrong. If there is a formula, it's not going to last long because everyone's going to do it. So doing your own research and trying to find that, maybe tools help with that, but be wary of anyone that tells you, here's a filtered list of all the meme coins you should invest in.
Yeah. And just as a final point on my side, I'd like to know if anybody's looking to either start a project in the crypto space, or has started a project. You have? You're looking to start the project. Okay. Brilliant. So anyways, just and I'll just go quiet. Sorry, I took over the whole thing. It's the difference between NFTs and tokens for raising funds. Actually, I'll go quiet and maybe ask you this question. So do you see NFTs, Robin, as I guess, successful way of raising funds for creators and projects?
Yeah, I've seen it happen many times. I think if you have a good project and you have enough people that agree with you, it's a great way of crowdfunding, and it's a good way of building community. When you sell out a collection of NFTs, you're left with maybe 100, maybe 150, maybe 1,000 people who all collectively believe in the future of your project. And it's similar to Patreon or other crowdfunding models. The difference is, if they want to get out of that project, they can, and other people can get in, and you have this whole secondary trading thing, which adds an interesting dynamic. But yeah, 100%. If you want to crowdfund a project, I would argue that NFTs is better than any other crowdfunding model. And it has so much more potential for cool stuff you can do with your holders in the future.
Yeah.
Is that something that you offer through Wobbl?
Not NFT sales, no. Wobbl is more of a affiliate layer on top. So if you want to sell to your audience, or you want to make commission on an NFT sale, that's where Wobbl comes in. We don't do any primary sales. We're not selling NFTs directly to the consumer.
I guess a super quick question that I forgot for Katie, because you've been quiet for a bit. Sorry. I guess that, you're working with independent creators.
Yeah.
they're, again, still trying to find ways of paying the rent and the bills and all that stuff. And in the record industry, a very well-known way of raising funds is through record deals.
Yeah.
So from your opinion, working with, whether it's grassroots or, small, medium artists, what is your thought in terms of, the prospects of raising funds for those projects via NFTs? So do you see it as easy as, Robin is talking about, or do you see it as complicated as actually signing a record deal?
I strongly agree with cutting out the middleman in these fronts, actually giving back to what, for the artists, and give back what they deserve. But I think the biggest barrier that people like this face is the community behind it. I've got a few mates that, they're just starting out. That's what kind of our record label is. It's people that are just starting out, 10K followers, something like that, but they've got an audience of 10K behind them. People are going to come pay and see their shows and things like this. So in relevance to, that question, yes, I think it's got a much more, it's going to be a lot better for small creators to start off in the Web3 space rather than, trying to get signed by a record label.
Yeah, because Robin, you've seen this. You've seen it with artists that probably don't even have the 10K followers.
I've seen artists reject record deals because they're making more money through NFTs. It's been flipped on its head because suddenly all of the revenue is coming to the artists themselves, and they are usually through the blockchain, but sometimes manually, giving their visual artists some money, giving their marketers some money. They're now the CEO of their own artist ecosphere, which they are 100% ready for because they've spent their lives selling merch and doing the accounts and doing everything that it takes to be an artist. And it's only now that they're actually getting to be that leading figure, which is fascinating to watch. But it's, in my opinion, it's a revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's
So what are they selling exactly? The musicians. What are the musicians selling through NFTs? Is it the music itself, an access to a file, or what are they selling?
Could be a variety. I'm just talking as a conceptual idea, but it could be, a musician, let's say with a bit of a higher following, let's say 50,000, could put something out, and they could, to someone that's been really, really following them for a while, they could have a meeting or something that could be tied. It could be written into contract, hey, you get to meet with me, once a month or something to discuss. There's so many options for it, and there's so much utility that can be used. It might not just be a music file. It could have other things tied to it. So a yearly tickets for all of their events that they do. It's got a lot of variety to it. I don't think it's a very one-sided thing.
Yeah, exactly. The reality is you're buying a record on a blockchain. You're not buying anything tangible. The NFTs are not tangible. And a lot of people struggle to get their heads around that, which I can understand. But you're buying into the future of an artist, and the artist knows that you've bought that NFT. So if you buy it before the artist becomes big, there's a potential of I was there early, here's proof. Also, if an artist is putting on a gig, they can say, I know that you've been there for me. I know that you bought my NFTs. I know that you've been to all of my shows. You get cheaper tickets, you get front row seats, whatever. The utility is anything can be added to the utility. Once you've got that proof that person has bought into your collection, then the fun starts and you can offer anything to them.
Yeah.
It's really just like the old fan club thing, isn't it? So you have membership of the fan club, and then you've got silver membership, gold membership, platinum membership.
Exactly.
And it's just that, a different way, but they have complete control of it, and it's relatively easy to manage. It's just brilliant.
Yeah. And talking in a artist point of view, so I lost my train of thought there. No, it's gone.
Cool. I've got a question for you guys then. So, you've spoken about the utility, and have you actually seen any artists being able to offer ticket discounts? Or because, we've spoken about ticket NFTs, spoken about the utility of it, then we're talking about the control that NFTs can give to an artist. But on that note, and since we mentioned the discounts that someone can get, or a free ticket for the whole tour or whatever, have you actually seen any artists that had the control? Because, the ticket price is set by the promoter and the venues, if you've got, the ticketing company, etc. So any artists that you've seen able to offer those discounts with NFTs?
Yeah, I've been to several events which are token gated, which means you have to hold the NFT to get in. The conventional ticketing companies are taking a long time to catch up, so it's difficult to offer discounts if you're using Ticketmaster or TicketWeb or whatever. It's difficult to offer this discount that is verifiable on the blockchain, but slowly these tools are coming out. Right now, it tends to be like, I'll show you my NFT in my wallet on my phone, which usually passes, or the artist already knows you, which happens in a lot of cases. Like if you've got 100 people that own your NFTs, chances are you know a lot of them pretty well. So they turn up for your gig and they're like an old friend at that point. They're like, hey, how's it going? Like, I saw you on a Twitter space the other day, and they let them in. But yeah, 100%, like this is happening right now. A lot of NFT musicians are holding events specifically for their holders, and nobody else can get in. But yeah, discounts and front row seats and special treatment is happening as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've also got an example as well. So there's a collective of artists. I think they're Manchester based, but they threw an event, and of all the people that went to their event, they like handpicked like 20 people and threw like a secret other event, and they got notified through an airdrop. Like, hey, we're throwing this. This is like, completely secret. And they've built a sub community within a community, which is how you grow. It's simple. Like that's how you grow. So by doing that, they've established like 20 people that, chances are next time they're gonna still, want to put funds in artists' pockets.
We've talked a lot about all the different types of NFTs, all the different ways that they can be used, and all the different utility that can be attached to an NFT. If an NFT or a token has no utility, if it is just launched, maybe it's sort of loosely attached to a project as some sort of vague fundraising vehicle, or maybe it's just a JPEG, is that a bad thing? Is that all fundamentally worthless?
I've got a few strong feelings. So I think the be-all and end-all of NFTs, and NFTs are only as much use. If the community runs out of steam, the NFT is going to run out of steam. So if you don't have the hype behind it, you guys might feel a bit differently, I don't know. If you don't have the hype behind this, and if the community isn't engaged and things like this, it's just going to.
Yeah, 100%. If there's no utility, it's a hype machine. If everyone believes in the project, the price will go up and everyone benefits. As soon as the FUD comes in, as soon as like the fear comes in and it drops, that's game over. If you've got nothing else, you've just got a token. It's very risky. Some people are pulling it off. Pepe's probably pulling it off, but that's it.
You're doing it, Marlo.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys heard of Jack Dorsey selling his first tweet as an NFT? I think it sold for like $1.5 or $2 million. And then the buyer was then on the news a couple of months later saying, no one wants to buy it off me. So, on that, if it's just a JPEG, which is what it was, or have you guys heard of the rocks? I don't remember the name of the collection. It was just a very small collection of gray rocks that were hand-drawn. One of them sold for, I think, $500,000. It was literally a picture of a rock. That kind of thing happened. Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, why do you want the picture, if it doesn't have any use? I don't know, maybe you do. Financial advice, of course.
They might have it on an NFT photo frame, in their house. And so to them, that's what value to them as a community or whatever. It might have died, it might have grown, whatever. But that particular file, whatever you think it has, they think that is still valuable to them. So in that sense, I think you can have like NFTs that are essentially like artwork, I guess, or some meaning to you. That you're like, it might be the first NFT you ever bought, and yeah, it's scrap and it's not worth anything. But to you, it's got value. So I think that's when it can.
Yeah, that's an important point. And also, like some people buy NFTs for different reasons. We think of NFTs as NFT collectors as being this one group of degens or like people that crazy crypto bros, whatever. Actually, the reality is You've got a set of people that are massive fans of the artist and they buy it just for the art. You've got people that are speculating and they buy it because they expect the price to increase. You've got people that are buying it for the utility. You've got people for buying it for the collectability. There's actually 10 different reasons why somebody's going to buy an NFT. And you don't want to just group all these people into one massive homogenous group because that's not.
I think it's more the technology rather than the thing, because everyone tries to attach something.
Yeah, I was saying it's more like a technology, and I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. Is they think of it, and a lot of people that don't know what NFTs are, they just think about the ape pics, stuff like that. And then when they start going down that rabbit hole, they go, oh, actually, there's lots of different uses, and there's so many different business models you can use. But yeah, it's like, I don't know where I'm going with this now, but it's like I think that's the problem I see a lot in the community is a lot of people think of it as a mainly art to begin with, and then they start finding other uses for it. But I've also seen people where projects have died, the owner's gone, I don't want to do this anymore, or it's just like, I can't do this anymore. And actually has been taken over by community, and then it's become its new thing again and revived and actually gone on to do better things, which I find really interesting as well. There's a lot of members club type stuff like you sort of mentioned and stuff as well. But I think, yeah, the technology of NFTs, there's so many different business models that the average Joe doesn't even realize yet. And like ticketing's perfect for it. Yeah.
Yeah. On that topic, I've got an interesting business model with my favorite NFT, if I can tell you about that, which is Damien Hirst. So I saw that Damien Hirst, or I heard Damien Hirst was releasing some NFTs, and I thought, that's interesting. I quite like Damien Hirst. Let's have a look. And I like the look of them. So I bought one. And this NFT is, it's called 5 Empresses from China. And each of the 5 is a meter square as a picture. So it's physical, but you get the NFT, and that gives you permission to print out this picture. So you send off to them, they print it out for you, mount it on aluminium and send it to you. And that's what I wanted. I wanted that picture. And then he's programmed into it, because it's Damien Hirst and he doesn't need the money. So instead of saying, I get 5% every time somebody sells it, he says, oh, I don't need that. So he says, in 2025, if you haven't printed it out, it expires. So as the gentleman said over there, there's lots of different ways of doing it. And that's the way Damien Hirst decided to do it. And I got one of those.
I have a question on that. So if you print the picture and then you sell the NFT, can I still print it?
No, my understanding is that I can, in fact, I bought it off somebody who'd already bought it. So I bought it secondhand from somebody who hadn't printed it. Okay. So it's, I can sell it before I get it printed. Once I got it printed, then that's it. I guess I've still got the NFT, but then I'd have to sell the physical print.
Does that mean it's encrypted? To stop it being printed?
Well, I'll ask me later, because I went through the process of trying to get it printed once, and I failed, as we all know. And I haven't gone back to it a second time yet, but I just need to do it before 2025.
How can it expire?
Yeah, it can be programmed.
Yeah, well, there's in many NFT smart contracts, there's a burn function, which means that the NFT is burnt, it's no longer tradable, it no longer exists in that contract, and you don't have access to it. And on many marketplaces, it will just disappear. So you can burn NFTs.
There's a very fun way of doing that, which actually, because NFTs, they're not really NFTs. And so essentially all the files, so the image is a URL, so it's a link to the actual file. So a really fun way to do it instead of burning it is that you replace the files For example, with music, if you buy a song by Adele, expires and you replace it with the Baby Shark or the £1 Fish song, for example. Or, you know, if it's an image, you can replace it with, I don't know, a picture of the poop emoji, you know, like you can actually,
Yeah, I had a client that was trying to do a project where it was linked via an on-chain oracle, which means that it checks a certain API for something. And he was checking for his own death. So he was an artist and he wanted to release a collection of NFTs and he wanted it to switch when he died. So anyone that had bought his NFT, it would be, when he died, it'd be pushed up to the blockchain, automatically refresh all of the images, and they would get a completely different image because he just died. There's, yeah, apparently he was Swedish. So I think it was the Swedish government has a death API, apparently. I don't know. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
The more you know.
Last question, and then we're going to have to wrap up. I'd like each of you to give me the top three keys to success of an NFT. Is it all about the utility? Is it the community? Is it the marketing? Is it the way that it's launched? Is it the hype around it? What are the main keys to success of NFTs?
I guess the first thing to ask is, what is a successful NFT, right? Because you've got obviously the Bored Apes and just pictures of monkeys, and they're super successful because they're worth a lot. But then you've got NFTs from, you know, Star Atlas, super cool game. They're not worth even, I don't know, 1% of what Ape is worth. They're super successful. It's got a huge community, Astra Games. So the gaming community are making successful not the NFTs, but the company behind those NFTs. So I guess it depends on how you define success, because if it's on floor price, I guess that maybe Robin can answer that. But I think if it's on the, you know, longevity of the project itself, I guess it's the community, and also how it's a give and take, right? Both parts need to give. So strong community, but then you need to have the creators delivering whatever they promised, right? In the case of a game, if I'm selling you NFTs in exchange of a game in the future, that I actually end up delivering the game, and you know, that kind of thing. So I guess it's, you know, staying true to what you're promising, and then a strong community. But in terms of, you know,
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The community is number one, because any value, any definition of value comes back to what people think it's worth. And if you've got a strong community, they will value that very highly. If nobody cares about your NFT, the value drops, whatever metric you're looking at. Secondly, utility is very important. In most cases, unless it's just a monkey JPEG or something that has no inherent value, you need to provide value to your collectors. You've got these people that have bought into your ecosystem. What value are you going to give them to make it worth buying the NFT? Otherwise, they've just got a JPEG or an MP3 or a record on a blockchain. It's nothing. They're buying into your community for a reason. What is that reason? So you have to think about, how do I, every day, this is not something that stops. This is like every day, how do I drive value to my collector base? That's what you should be asking yourself. Even before you've sold out, even before you've made the first image for your collection, what am I going to do to make this NFT valuable? And maybe there's maybe you've got a team, maybe there's a reason that people would buy it outside of yourself, but there has to be that reason, because think about it objectively. Why am I going to buy a simple NFT, which is someone can copy and paste or save to their hard drive? And you need to have a really compelling argument for why it's valuable.
Yeah, so utility, first of all, if it can solve problems, fantastic. And then kind of also considering, you know, can it provide value? Can it provide added value rather than just sitting there? Can it provide access? Can it provide, you know, can you be part of something? And then can it solve a problem? The three things that I see.